What's up, everyone? Paul here from the Hoops Crew to talk about Nuff of the Week for round 22. And I don't have any fancy graphics. I don't have anything I want to project this week. I just want to talk about the way that the Richmond Football Club has handled the farewell announcement of Dustin Martin. The reason is multi-layered, and I think there's a lot of information that hasn't made its way out about that whole day and some of the things that transpired, because there's been a lot of commentary specifically from Richmond supporters who've cracked the shits at Geelong fans, or the Geelong Football Club, I guess, over the fact that our Tom Hawkins announcement came, that Tom Hawkins was retiring. And I haven't had a chance to put out a proper video yet for the scratching post, which is exclusive to Patreon. Normally we might make this one free when I get a chance to do it. Where I'll talk in great depth about Tom Hawkins' retirement and what it kind of means to me. But they've really got the shits up with the Geelong Footy Club and its fans over the fact that Tom Hawkins' announcement came, only half an hour after Dusty's thereabouts, and the press conference also about half an hour to 45 minutes after the one that Richmond had for Dustin Martin. And they're all pointing the fingers at Geelong and saying it's their fault. Why do they, they're trying to steal Dusty's thunder. He's a legend of the game. Why would they put Tom Hawkins up against it? We've seen memes and all those sorts of things pop up. And what has been lost by all of those supporters, and understandably so, is the fact that the fault here actually lies with Richmond, to my understanding. So I've been kind of tracking a little bit of content around this, and I stumbled across a piece of footage that Glenn McFarlane put out. It came from maybe First Crack or one of the Fox shows that he's on. And he was talking about the way the process looks when clubs have to, I guess, they're going to disclose something. They've got an announcement of some sort, good, bad, or otherwise. There's essentially, my understanding, a WhatsApp group, basically, that has kind of a lot of these comms teams in it. And they'll put their foot, they'll step out there and say, hey, we've got an announcement. This is what it is. And we're going to schedule it for this time. And the whole idea is to ensure that clubs don't get in the way of each other, that everyone respectfully gets the breathing space that they all deserve. Now, if you're a Richmond supporter that's tuned into this point, you might be wondering, well, if that's the case, why did Geelong not give Richmond the breathing room? Well, actually, the fault lies with Richmond, is the understanding. It's what I learned from Glenn McFarlane here, is that Richmond did not disclose in that chat what they were doing. And perhaps that's because of the secrecy of Dusty and all those, all the various kind of reasons that Dusty has always been kind of avoiding the limelight over the years, might have led to the fact that Richmond decided, well, we're not going to disclose this here because we don't want word getting out. We don't want him to get tailed. We don't want there to be an almighty fuss, which of course there was always going to be, but we don't want it to be full magnitude because we want to respect him and we want to try and do things in a way that Dusty would appreciate, despite ultimately what had to be done. But what they ultimately created in doing this was a scenario where Geelong and other clubs, but Geelong specifically, were unaware of what was going on when they scheduled Tom Hawkins' announcement and then ultimate press conference, which he attended too, not Dusty, by the way, for a time that was right in the window of Dusty's reveal. So Richmond comes out, they announce that Dusty's going to be retiring, and then they go to have a press conference a media appointment with Brendan Gale later on, who's also leaving, I might add. So maybe they could have gotten someone who's actually going to remain at the football club to speak. But they organised this, they hosted this, it played out, and then the Tom Hawkins one, both in terms of the press announcement and then of course the conference, each happened within an hour of the Richmond doing their own. And everyone points the finger at Geelong and says it's their fault. But sorry, guys, your club didn't do the smart thing. They didn't really respect Dusty in this scenario. And I guess I'm sure they couldn't have known that Geelong was planning for their announcement that same day. But my understanding is Geelong disclosed everything. They said what they were planning on doing. And so other clubs knew not to announce anything. It's probably why we didn't. Wasn't until the next day when Andrew Gaffs came out? Was it and then where did nowhere near the same magnitude in terms of quality of player, Andrew Gaff, but also the same for Brandon Ellis, like Brandon Ellis one. Like they were avoiding the big things because the clubs talk to one another. But when you choose not to, when you go rogue, when you go do your own thing, no matter what the reasons are, and I do understand that there's probably some sort of respect being paid to Dusty as a part of how they've done this. They're trying to respect the way that Dusty goes about things and would want things to be, despite what ultimately needs to happen. I get all of this. But by not following the process, you then ultimately squashed the news. You've upset your fan base because another club has come in following the correct process and has then gotten in the way of what really, and I'd be 100% hit. Like, Dusty's caused Geelong supporters a bit of trauma over the years, especially the 2020 grand final, and that's been prominently placed within all of the reels that have come out for Dusty in the days since, including the day off. He put in a phenomenal performance in the 2020 grand final, and credit to him for all that he's accomplished. But oh geez, it hurt. That hurt. That hurt a bit. At the end of the day, all of that stuff kind of got drowned out to a degree because the Tom Hawkins thing occurred. And all things being equal, Dusty should have had the day. Tom Hawkins also deserved to have the day. Andrew Gaff deserved to have the day. Now we're starting to get a little bit tight there for, if there was other big announcements. Brandon Ellis deserved to get the day. And then we'd be basically out of options at this particular point, because then we're just driving at match day sort of conversation, potentially gets drowned out by all of the speculation around the next round of football. But each of these blokes deserve to have their time in the spotlight, and they didn't get it, not because Dusty and Tom Hawkins didn't get it, not because of anything that Geelong did, but because of what Richmond didn't do. Now, there could be, and I will make sure I put this out there could be more information that comes to light where maybe what Glenn McFarlane was reporting is not 100% true, or there's some aspects that are and aren't correct. And of course, I'm happy to walk a few things back here if that happens to be the case. But right now, the clear and obvious Nuffs of the week are Richmond's communication team and some of the leadership there that decided not to disclose the information, the relevant information, in the right channels, the channels that they would follow for anything else. I think if most other players on that list were retiring, they would have followed the same process that Geelong did, that West Coast would have, that Gold Coast would have, and that any other club does when they've got retirements or other big pieces of news to reveal. But they chose not to, and as a result, Tom Hawkins and Dustin Martin kind of had the moment taken from them a little bit. And there's no one to blame but the Richmond Football Club for that. So they cop Nuff of the week this week. Hope Richmond fans, if you're watching and listening, if you've stuck it out this long, I hope you understand why and where the problem why the problem is with what Richmond has done. But let's not lose sight of, all of us, that Tom Hawkins and Dustin Martin are two absolute legends of the game. They are walk-up Hall of Famers and potentially much more beyond that. Hopefully Dusty's celebration in round 24, I believe, is befitting of the guy. I'm glad to see that he is going to come out, because I know that there's lots of players. Hell, Buddy Franklin just kind of disappeared, and he was very much a recluse, a bit like Dusty. Hopefully, in the case of Dusty, he gets the respect that he deserves. Hopefully, in the case of Tom Hawkins, he gets 4 more goals and can finish as an 800-goal player. That would be very much deserved as well. Until next time, please make sure to tune in to all Hoops Crew content on the YouTube. Find us on Patreon, where you'll get exclusives, early access, and more. The first week, you can subscribe and not pay a cent, and then stick around for $5 or $6 for the entire month. Not per day, for the entire month, to get access to all the other stuff that we're doing there. Check out my scratching post video that I'll put up for Tom Hawkins as well. And until next time, remain Geelong strong, and I'll see you later.